Some of the new games look like updated takes on fairly well-known formats. In the racing game of F-Zero, you're in a futuristic race car. Oh, I guess I should watch where I'm driving instead of talking. The 3D effect, as you can see, is pretty good by video game standards. There's a nice clear stretch, even if I am in reverse. Let's see if we can't turn the car around right about now. If you're a real good player, meaning you've got the skill of a 9 or 10-year-old, you can even try to jump your car.
F-Zero is a Nintendo franchise that has long been dormant since the release of F-Zero GX on the GameCube back in 2003. If you count Japan-exclusive titles, the last F-Zero game to be released was F-Zero Climax on the Game Boy Advance back in 2004, almost 20 years ago. Fans have since been clamoring for a new installment in Nintendo's futuristic high-speed racing franchise. In September, it seemed as if the fans' desires were about to be fulfilled, as a certain bird on a certain bird app told everyone that fans of a certain MATLAB function would like the upcoming Nintendo Direct. Everyone immediately got excited that there would be a new F-Zero game. Even though it also could have just been Metroid Prime 4 because there are a bunch of Prime functions in MATLAB, but I digress. So then, the Direct gets announced. Everyone's on the edge of their seats. Then the Direct happens, and everyone's glued to their chairs as Nintendo announces...
More than 30 years after its original release, F-Zero is back as a Battle Royale game.
What? Needless to say, fans were pissed. Is this really what Nintendo thinks of us? They think so lowly of us that they would bestow us with this trash? Do they really see us as mere peasants? Is that all we are to Nintendo? After almost 20 years with no new F-Zero game, almost 20 years of no F-Zero content other than appearing in other video games, and we get this F-Zero Battle Royale? That's really all we get? This is the Mario Tennis Ultra Smash of the Nintendo Switch. This is on par with Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. This is worse than Metroid Prime Federation Force. This is the worst thing Nintendo has ever done. How dare they not give us a remake of F-Zero GX? Like, how dare they not give us that, instead give us F-Zero 99, what is this? But then they actually played the game, and realized, you know, maybe this game's actually pretty fun. I think it's decent. You know, I've only played it for like, well, you see, wait, no, don't call therapy, no, I'm not addicted, I swear, no, don't call them, I'm not addicted, I promise! Hello, I'm Avert, and welcome to the first episode of Avert Radar, a series where I give my thoughts on things that have just come out, or haven't just come out. Today on the radar, we're going to be looking at F-Zero 99, a game that just released that I am not addicted to in any way, shape, or form, not addicted to it. In F-Zero 99, you race online against 98 other players on a track, and yes, that is exactly as chaotic as it sounds. Imagine you're doing bumper cars, except you're also doing the bumper cars on a track, and also you're going at like over 500 kilometers an hour. You may call it chaos, but I personally do not think it gets any more F-Zero than 99 people racing each other to the death on a track while they're going at 500 kilometers an hour in bumper cars. Thankfully, you have a variety of different tools at your disposal, the first of which is the spin attack. This feels so natural and fun to use that you would think it was in F-Zero from the beginning, but it wasn't. You activate this spin attack by pressing either ZL or ZR, which will knock into an opponent. This will instantly KO any opponent that's vehicle is smoking. KOing an opponent will refill your power meter, as well as give you another little tick of power. Your power meter is basically your health bar for the game. Anytime you do anything, you bump into a wall, someone spins into you, you sneeze, you're gonna lose a little bit of that power meter. And if you're feeling risky, you can even press the A button to do a boost, which takes up a little chunk of your power. So you gotta take precaution whenever you decide to boost. In order to refill your power meter, you have two options. The first is the refill station. Every single track in the game has a refill station right after the starting line, where a machine from the sky will come by and fill you up. The other option is KOing human opponents, as previously mentioned. Additionally, you can also KO CPU machines. These machines are on the track, so it is unlikely for anyone to hold a lead for extended periods of time. There are two variants of CPU machines. The first are the red ones. Now these ones cannot be KO'd. In fact, you should steer clear from them at all costs, as bumping into one will cause them to explode. launching you into a different dimension. The other variant of CPU machines are the gray cars. Now these can be KO'd, however unlike the human players, KOing these will not fully refill your power meter. It will only fill up your power meter by a little tick. It'll still give you a bit more power though, so they're still worth KOing. There is a third variant of machine you'll see on the road, however unlike the first two, this one is not a CPU. You see, whenever you get KO'd or crashed out or ranked out of the race really early, you have a chance of becoming a lucky bumper. The lucky bumper allows you to get revenge on your fellow racers by messing them up. You get extra points while doing so as well. Bumping into a racer will give you a single point, while spinning into them will give you 5. You can even KO people while doing this, so it's a really great addition for people who lose early. During every F-Zero 99 race, you'll be given 4 rivals. These rivals are usually equal to or similar to your current rank. Placing higher than a rival at the end of a match will defeat them, and the more rivals you defeat, the higher your rank will go. However, if you defeat 0 rivals by the time the race is up, then you're just gonna rank down.
Because your car's faster.
The final mechanic there really is to talk about is the Skyway. The Skyway is a phenomenal addition to the game, and I honestly think it's just pure genius. Basically, whenever 2 vehicles collide in a match, they create little super sparks. Collecting these super sparks will fill a meter on the top right of your screen. When the meter is full and you press the A button, instead of boosting, it'll take you to a separate track above the original track you're on, which will boost you through a really fast route. The Skyway has a time limit and will only last for a certain amount of time, which will depend on how far you are on the race. The further ahead you are, the shorter the Skyway will be. This is a great mechanic for several different reasons. First, it allows players who are far behind to get a lead and have a chance at winning without needing to rely on RNG dependent items like in Mario Kart. It's also nice because it gives you a moment to breathe. You're gonna constantly be in the middle of chaotic action non-stop, so it's nice to have a moment where you can just take a nice rest for a little bit, even if it is for like 10 seconds. Another thing to note is that the Skyway will never drop you off back onto the track during a turn, which is great because A, it means that you can't get screwed over off the side of the track like in Mario Kart Double Dash with the chain chomp item, and sometimes the chain chomp would stop on the middle of a turn so you'd get flung right into the wall. That can't happen here. And B, because you can use the fact that the road will never end during a turn to extend your Skyway length. Using the data of what place you're in, along with the track layouts for every track, you can plan your Skyway ahead so that it ends on a turn, meaning that you'll get an extra long extended Skyway. The final thing I want to talk about regarding the Skyway is how you even get it in the first place. Having the Skyway be obtained by collecting Super Sparks means that you're more likely to get the Skyway when you're further back and you actually need it, because that's where everyone's going to be bumping into each other. Whereas, in the lead, there are going to be less people there, meaning that there are going to be less Super Sparks, meaning that you are less likely to get the Skyway when you are in the very front, which is absolutely genius design, and I think the Skyway is a brilliant mechanic. A common take I see about this game across the internet is, why is it not Mario Kart 99? There's no reason why it can't be that. Why did they pick F-Zero? And to that I say, no, I do not think Mario Kart 99 would work like this. For one, you cannot crash out in Mario Kart, where you can crash out in F-Zero, meaning that in Mario Kart 99, it wouldn't work as a battle royale, as you wouldn't have the way to defeat opponents. The game being based off of F-Zero instead of Mario Kart also allows you to have exhilarating amounts of speed. On top of all that, I do not see a Mario Kart 99 being as punishing as this game is. The thing about F-Zero 99 is that it does not pull any punches. You die in the game, you die in real life. There are 4 machines in the game you can choose to race with: the Blue Falcon, the Golden Fox, the Wild Goose, and the Fire Stingray. Going from the bottom, the Fire Stingray has the best handling out of every machine in the game. It also has the fastest top speed, however the acceleration is not the best. The Wild Goose has subpar acceleration, but is the most durable machine in the game. The Golden Fox has piss poor handling and its top speed isn't that good. However, it makes up for that by having the fastest acceleration in the game, as well as also having the fastest power meter recharge time in the game. Like seriously, you can get to the refill station with an empty power meter and you will still be almost full by the time you're out of there. And then you got the Blue Falcon, which, Yeah, this is definitely the worst machine in the game. Like, there are literally no reasons to pick the Blue Falcon over the other vehicles. Like, the other machines, you have like the high durability, the fast acceleration, the highest top speed, fast boost recharge times. The Blue Falcon has literally nothing. It doesn't even control that good. The acceleration is okay. The top speed is okay. Its durability is okay. It's a fine machine, but every other machine outclasses it in some way. The only reason I could see someone picking the Blue Falcon in online play is so that they can get the unlockables that come with it. Because honestly, this is the only machine in the game that I would consider to be borderline unviable. The standard F-Zero 99 mode has 4 tracks that you can pick from. These are Mute City, Big Blue, Sand Ocean, and Deathwind. The other tracks are relegated to other modes, which I will get to later. The first track on the list is Mute City. Now this is your standard run-of-the-mill by-the-books opening track. I think it's okay. It's probably the weakest out of all the tracks in the game so far. There's this one part where there are 2 big patches of like stuff, like metal or scrap or whatever, that slow you down, and you have to like boost through it to get through fast, meaning you have to like save at least some boost to get through there properly, and it's hard to dodge the cars. You can also time your skyway to get over it. That's pretty much like the only feature this track has. Other than that, it is literally just the Mario circuit of F-Zero 99. Next up is Big Blue, which I am particularly fond of, honestly. It isn't that crazy, you know, it does nothing too special, but it is well designed, it's like well rounded. It's just pretty much just a standard good track overall. There are several areas in the track where you can optimize your boost to get through faster. There are some parts where you have like narrow scrap. Again, I have no idea what the stuff that slows you down on the tracks are. I'm just gonna like call them scrap, but they're probably like the ashes of the machines that have crashed in the past. I have no idea what they are, but yeah, it slows you down and you have to get through it because it's really narrow, which is cool. So you can boost through it. It's just a good track overall. After that is Sand Ocean, which is probably my favorite track in the game right now. A lot of tight turns with this one. Like, this is where the game starts to get to the big boy tracks. Alright, say goodbye to sipping your juice box and having a nap. No, you gotta put your big boy pants on so you can race through this. This is like the first track where you'll actually have to master letting go of acceleration so you can do a tight turn drift. And there are some straightaways where you can boost if you want to. It's just a really fun track to race through, pretty challenging, and that is why I like it so much. The final track, which you can expect to see show up on standard F-Zero 99 matches, is Deathwind. Now, despite that ominous name, you may be looking at this layout and thinking to yourself, Baby Park? Is that you? But I assure you it is a lot more difficult than Baby Park. The wind itself isn't even that big of an issue, honestly. That's like the least of your concerns when it comes to this track. The main concern you'll have is how narrow the track is. Everyone is going to be bumping into each other all over the place, and if you miss even one of those speed boosts on the middle of the road, you are going to be sent all the way back. Combine the rampant bumper carring because of the narrow roads, along with the speed boosts and the wind, as well as the boost refill meter being really short, you have yourself a pretty challenging track. Now, this may sound absolutely painful to play through, but since the track layout is so simple, it's just an oval, it actually isn't that bad. If this were, say, I don't know, Sand Ocean but with wind, it could get really frustrating, but it being a simple loop makes this track pretty fun. I would also say that this track is where you'll have to be most strategic with when you use your boosts. Like at the beginning of the track, there's a section with 3 different heaps of scrap, and you can just drive around it skillfully, but since there are going to be so many cars, you're going to be bumping all over the place. So the best course of action is to just boost right through it. But you need to save some boost because 1, there are speed boosts which you might miss, and if you miss one, you'll have to boost to catch up, and 2, because the refill station on this track is a lot shorter than any other track. You do not get a lot of boost refill, even when you're playing as Golden Fox. I will say though, that the wind may sound terrible, but it's actually not that bad. Overall, as I mentioned, it is the lowest out of all the things you have to worry about, and I like how every time you make a turn, the wind is going a different direction. So like you're starting out, the wind's pushing you left, then you make a turn, the wind's pushing you back, you make another turn, the wind's pushing you right. It's really good stuff. Finally, I like that they made the wind visible. Now, in the original F-Zero, you could not see the wind, which is most likely due to hardware limitations, so it's nice that you can actually see it now. It's a good thing they added in. So yeah, those are the main 4 tracks you will see online in F-Zero 99. If I were to rank them from weakest to best, I would go Mute City, followed by Deathwind, followed by Big Blue, and then Sand Ocean is my favorite of those 4. At the beginning of an F-Zero 99 race, you can choose what track you get by voting. And stop picking Mute City! Like, seriously, whenever there's a vote between Mute City and literally any other track in the game, Mute City always wins, without fail. In fact, I don't think there's been a single time in which Mute City hasn't won when it's one of the picks to get selected, except for maybe if the other choice is like Big Blue. So basically, track voting before a match starts is basically just an entire game of Rochambeau. You know, like Deathwind beats Sand Ocean, Port Town beats Whiteland, Big Blue beats everything except Mute City, and then Mute City just sweeps every track of the game. I like that there is a voting system in the first place, and I like the fact that since there are 99 people always voting, it'll never land on a tie. But I do not like that every single time people just keep picking Mute City. Like, stop. There are other tracks in the game, and they are all better than Mute City. Step out of your comfort zone, please. Anyway, the other tracks in the game are only playable through other modes, so I guess now is a better time than ever to talk about those. These extra modes are Pro Tracks, Team Battle, Grand Prix, and Mini Prix. The first special event is Pro Tracks, and this is pretty self-explanatory. Basically, it's just like the standard F-Zero 99 mode, except for it only picks from challenging tracks from the Queen and King League. As of the time I'm making this video, there are currently only 2 tracks in the Pro Tracks. These are Port Town 2 and Whiteland 1. Both of these tracks are pretty challenging, but I personally would say that Port Town 2 is probably a little bit more challenging than Whiteland 1. This track pretty much has it all. Alright, you have the really tight turns, which force you to stop accelerating or brake while holding L or R to get through smoothly. You got the narrow passages, which you can instantly get bumped into to lose half of your power meter. You got the ramps that take you over bottomless pits that instantly kill you. But then, there's a new mechanic added to this track, which is the magnets. Now these magnets will pull you into them, and when you get pulled into them, it'll drain your power meter. So basically, you gotta like hold right or left to avoid them. But it also happens during a turn, meaning you'll have to like press left to turn, but still be holding right a little bit to avoid the magnets. It's pretty challenging, but if you do it enough, you'll get used to it. The other track is Whiteland, and its main feature is ice. There are a couple sections where the track is really slippery and covered in ice, so you'll have to maneuver through it really carefully. This track also features a bunch of ramps, however, unlike Port Town, these ramps don't take you over bottomless pits. However, they're right next to bottomless pits, so it's a lot easier than you may think to get bumped into death. This track will put all of your driving chops to the test, and when you get a handle on it, I think it's pretty fun. The next special event you can expect to see is Team Battle. This is also pretty self-explanatory. Basically, you get put into one of 2 different teams, the pink team or the green team, and you have to score more points for your team by the end of the race to win. You can get points for your team in a variety of different ways. The first is by spinning into an opponent. By spinning into someone in the other team, you get 5 points instantly. You can also get points for your team by crossing the finish line. You get more points for your team the further ahead you are when you cross the finish line, with first place getting 50 points. Finally, you can get points for your team by KOing other opponents. KOing an opponent will count as a team KO, and everyone on your team will get an extended power meter. I think Team Battle is currently the easiest way in F-Zero 99 to get first place Victory Royale dubskis. After every team battle, you will witness the points getting tallied up for each team like in Splatoon. And most of the time, the winning team only wins by like a small number of points. It is very rare that you will see one team just completely sweep the other team, like completely dominate them. A majority of the time, the 2 teams will finish neck and neck. The final 2 special events in F-Zero 99 are Mini Prix and Grand Prix. And Mini Prix is pretty much just Grand Prix, but with only 3 tracks, so I'm not going to talk about it here. Let's get right into Grand Prix. So far, F-Zero 99 only has the Night League Grand Prix, with the Queen and King League gonna come soon, so let's talk about the Night League. So I've already covered all these tracks, but I will say that Deathwind 1, specifically Grand Prix Deathwind 1, is probably the hardest track in the entire game so far. Since there are 40 racers but only the top 20 can advance to the next track, you have to constantly make sure that you're boosting and you're driving on your A game without running out of your power meter, because there is always a risk of you getting sucked directly into the rank out zone. I swear, there is nothing more intense in F-Zero 99 than being on Deathwind 1 in the Grand Prix and having the rank out thing hovering over your head as you're just boosting trying to get into the top 20. It is insane. Like, I am literally leaning forward in my bed with the controller in my hand as I'm trying not to rank out, and I'm just in the zone while playing on this track in Grand Prix, man. It's chaotic. Anyway, the Grand Prix does feature a new track in Silence.
Silence!
You are not at risk of ranking out on this track, as it's literally impossible to. Your main concern is just getting as far ahead as you possibly can, which will prove to be a challenge as there are tons of really tight turns on this track. Thankfully, you will never race on this track with 99 people. It'll only be a 20-player race every time you play it, so it's pretty much exactly the same as SNES F-Zero. And because of that, they were able to keep the scale pretty faithful to the original F-Zero and SNES. It isn't made bigger to accommodate 98 other players. Silence is pretty much the final exam of F-Zero 99. It makes sure that you know how to do everything there is to know about playing the game. It makes sure that you know how to stop accelerating or brake to do turns, how to press L or R to do drifts, how to jump over gaps with ramps, how to avoid landmines and bumpers and other players, and when to use your boost efficiently. It has it all. Then after you finish Silence, the Grand Prix will show you the rankings and leaderboards of everyone who played through it. That's it for all of the modes in F-Zero 99. All we really have left to talk about is practice and workshop. So first, I'm just going to quickly get the practice mode out of the way, because there's not really much to it. It's literally just a time trial mode where you can race through any track in the game you've played online and get faster times on it. Although, playing them by yourself, you do realize just how much bigger these tracks are compared to the F-Zero SNES variants, because they need to accommodate 99 players. But yeah, that's pretty much it for practice mode. Next is Workshop, where you can view all of the things you've unlocked while getting achievements in F-Zero 99. The first unlockable you can obtain in the workshop are different colors for your machines. These are unlocked by getting a variety of different achievements online, which will unlock a new color for your corresponding machine. So for instance, if you use the blue Falcon to get an achievement, you'll only receive a color variant for the blue Falcon. You'll have to get all the rest separately. The same goes for unlocking decals as well. Decals are different patterns and designs you can unlock for your machine, which when combined with the different color variations gives you a lot of cosmetic options for what your machine can look like. It's very customizable. The other thing you're able to customize is your pilot card. Pilot cards are pretty much your gamer tag, which show you how many wins you've gotten and what rank you're at. These can be customized with different backdrops, badges, and borders. The backdrops are mostly unlocked by beating a set time for each track in practice mode. The badges are unlocked the same way you unlock the different machine colors and decals, and the borders are unlocked by leveling up. And then you got the records, which are just records. It shows you your play time and KOs and whatnot. It's nothing really to talk about there. That's pretty much it for F-Zero 99. So in conclusion, F-Zero 99 is a game that took me by surprise completely, and I ended up enjoying it a lot more than I ever expected to, even though I have enjoyed the other 99 games. Specifically Mario 35 and Tetris 99, even though Mario 35 isn't really a 99 game because there's only 35 players, but it's still a Nintendo themed battle royale, so I'm counting it. But I can definitely say I like F-Zero 99 a lot more than all the other 99 games, and is by far my favorite out of them. I wasn't even really an F-Zero fan before playing this game. Honestly, I played a bit of the F-Zero on SNES, I played a bit of X on the Switch Online app, but I've never really played too much of this series before F-Zero 99. But after playing F-Zero 99, I have went back to the other games. I have finished F-Zero on SNES, and I have played F-Zero GX, and I can say that I do not like F-Zero GX anywhere near as much as other people do. Honestly, there are only like 3 tracks in that game that I enjoy. Also in the story mode, they decide to chuck the final boss at you in level 2, and I don't even know how to get to level 2 when I first played it, and then I googled it. Turns out you have to buy it from the shop, which is in this really awkward location you'd never think to look at. And I'm not going to get into a huge F-Zero GX tangent right now, but yeah, I played the other F-Zero games. And it's nice to see this series get a new installment with a new game. And yes, this is a new game. A lot of people try to tell you that this isn't, but it is. The same way how Mario 35 is a new Mario game. Tetris 99 is a new Tetris game. Pac-Man 99 is a new Pac-Man game. F-Zero 99 is a new F-Zero game. If I recall correctly, Miyamoto stated before that the reason why they never brought F-Zero back is because they couldn't think of a new mechanic to implement, which I'm not sure how much I buy that, considering one, they definitely could find a new mechanic to implement, like online play for instance, and two, because the new Super Mario Bros. Series exists, so they're definitely not above putting the same game out there over and over again. So I'm not sure how much I buy that, but it is nice to see that they have come up with a new gameplay mechanic, and one that works pretty well. And since F-Zero 99 is free with a Nintendo Switch Online membership, and almost every Switch owner has one of those, almost everyone can play this game.
You have
F-Zero 99.
dipshit. It came free with your fucking
Nintendo Switch Online.
So yeah, I give this game an F-Zero 9 out of 10. Just please don't take it away from us, Nintendo. So those are my thoughts on F-Zero 99 as the game currently stands. I'm really scared that this video is going to be outdated before it even comes out because there's new content for F-Zero 99 coming out, and the Queen League might be out before this video comes out. So maybe eventually I'll give my thoughts on the rest of the stuff coming to F-Zero 99, but it's unlikely considering the fact that my thoughts are probably just going to be the same as they are now, just with new tracks. I am excited though for Red Canyon and Firefield to join into the game. Those two tracks are going to be extremely hype with 99 people, but yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. On a side note, I really didn't like that the first few videos I posted to this channel weren't evergreen content. For those that don't know, evergreen content is basically content that you could watch at any point in time without it getting outdated. So like a game review, for instance. Whereas a video talking about Mario games that are going to release or Wave 6 predictions are not going to be watched or recommended to people or searched for after Wave 6 comes out and after the Mario games come out. No one's going to want to watch that after then, so it has like an expiration date, whereas game reviews don't. You can watch a game review on like Ocarina of Time whenever you want. So I'm glad to know that the first time I decided to do a game review, it's on a game that Nintendo is probably going to take away from us in a couple months. I'm really good at this, but no. But yeah, that's going to be all for me today. I have nothing else I think I need to talk about. I think I've covered pretty much everything. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. It truly does mean a lot to me. And I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye, everyone.